follow your heart. It is a phrase that makes people feel they are living authentically, yet it quietly leads them astray from their true selves. Emotions are not the enemy, but they have never been a reliable leader. In moments of anger, your heart urges you to react. In moments of euphoria, it makes you believe every choice is right. But in the end, what remains is not victory, but a silence filled with regret. This is why those who live solely by their emotions often fail to realize one thing. They are not living, they are being controlled. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That is the boundary between the weak and the master. One who lets emotions lead will always react. One who masters themselves will choose to respond. But they may look similar, but they lead to two entirely different fates. The stillness that Stoicism aims for is not a soulless coldness. It is the state where you see the storm, but are no longer swept away by it. You still feel, but you are no longer controlled. You still live, but you are no longer dragged by momentary impulses. Imagine a warrior in the heat of battle. If he lets fear dominate, he panics. If he lets anger take control, he becomes reckless. But if he maintains a cool head, every movement, every decision becomes terrifyingly precise. That is not a lack of emotion, that is ultimate power. Marcus Aurelius did not become one of the most powerful men in history by listening to his heart. He became steadfast because he understood the human inner self must be forged like a fortress. And in Gu Fortress, our reason is the gatekeeper. When you learn to remain silent before impulsive urges, you do not lose yourself. You are reclaiming yourself. When you refuse to react immediately, you do not become weaker. You are accumulating power. And when you begin to observe your emotions instead of trusting them implicitly, that is when you step out of the chaos that most of the world never escapes. True transformation does not come from feeling better. It comes from becoming steadier, even when no emotion is on your side. And the moment you realize that you don't need to feel ready to do the right thing is the moment you begin to become dangerous in the quietest way possible. Part 1. The lie named Follow Your Heart. The origin of most personal tragedies does not stem from an obvious mistake, but rather from a piece of advice that sounds beautiful. Follow your heart. We are taught to trust our emotions as an internal compass, believing that the intense vibrations of passion or desire are signs of the right path. But the naked truth is, the heart does not always lead you to freedom. Sometimes it is the velvet-wrapped chain itself. It constantly paints brilliant visions, making you believe everything you feel is truth, when in fact it is merely a fleeting biological reaction manipulating your entire decision-making system. The moment you empower your emotions, you inadvertently strip away your most vital armor, sober reason. Recall a moment of raw reality, when you were insulted, misunderstood, or faced with an indigestible injustice. Anger flared up so fast, you barely had time to think, and in an instant, you reacted. A harsh message, a cold word, an impulsive act. But the point is not that moment. It is the silence that follows. When everything settles, what remains is rarely satisfaction, but rather a sense of hollowness and regret. Not only in anger, but also in euphoria. Humans easily drive themselves into error. Hurried decisions, emotional gambles, choices made simply because they felt right. And then, when the consequences arrive, we realize that emotion never takes responsibility for what it provoked. Seneca once warned that anger is a brief madness. If you observe long enough, you will realize this applies not only to anger, but to almost every extreme emotional state. Our brains are programmed for survival in a primitive world, where reacting fast was more important than thinking deeply. But in the modern world, that very system becomes a fatal flaw. There is no predator stalking you in the office, yet your body reacts as if there is. There is no real existential threat, yet your mind triggers the alarm. If you fail to recognize this, you will live your entire life governed by false signals. The secret lies not in extinguishing emotion, but in shifting its position within the internal power structure. Next time a wave of emotion rises, do not be quick to believe it. Step back. Just one beat is enough to create space between you and your instinctive reaction. See it as a signal, not a command. A current running through the system, not the voice of truth. While when you stand as an observer instead of merging with it, you begin to reclaim control. You are no longer the one dragged by the murky water. You become the one on the shore, seeing the flow for what it is. As the illusion of emotion is peeled away, a strange void appears. Quiet, cold, almost terrifying. Many will turn back there, unable to endure a silence devoid of familiar stimuli. But within that void, true power begins to take shape. It is not loud or ostentatious, but it is steadfast and unshakable. Only those brave enough to enter that stillness will understand that they have just touched the only key to pivoting their entire life. Part 2. The truth about emotional detachment. When reaching the threshold of inner stillness, the greatest barrier causing most people to flinch is not external circumstances, but a deeply ingrained prejudice. The belief that emotional detachment equals being emotionless. They fear that once the heart stops driving, they will become cold machines, losing warmth, humanity, and the ability to connect. This is a dangerous misconception. Emotional detachment is not the death of emotion. It is placing emotion in its proper place. It does not make you wither. It returns to you the power you have long lost, the right to decide how you respond to life. Observe a veteran surgeon facing a critical emergency. Around them, monitors beep incessantly, the scent of blood hangs in the air, and the line between life and death is suffocatingly thin. If that surgeon let pity overwhelm their mind or fear stifle their focus, their hands would tremble, and a single deviation would cost a life. What keeps the patient alive is not a heart overflowing with emotion, but a head cool enough to prevent emotion from blurring judgment. In that moment, you see the true nature of detachment. It does not make a person less human. It makes them more useful, more precise, and more powerful in protecting what truly matters. This is the truth that few are sober enough to see. You are not the emotions passed through you. The anger is not you. The fear is not you. Hurt, panic, or extreme excitement are not your true self. They are merely waves rising and receding on the surface of the mind. If you wish to master your life, you must be the one at the helm. You must be the captain maintaining course amidst the storm, not a piece of rotting wood tossed by the whitecaps. A mature human is not someone who no longer feels, but someone who no longer grants command to those temporary states. To reach this state, you must train an ability that seems simple, yet is incredibly rigorous, creating a buffer between the event and your reaction. This buffer is where power is born. In the very first second of being insulted, rejected, or pushed into adversity, instinct will always want you to react immediately. It urges you to say what satisfies your spite, to do what feels easy, to choose what escapes pain fastest. But in that moment, if you are conscious enough to pause, calm enough to observe, you will see another truth. Emotion is only providing a signal. The final decision still belongs to you. Crucially, do not confuse detachment with suppression. Suppression is pretending the fire in your chest isn't burning. It is forcing a smile while the inside is cracked. Detachment does not work that way. It does not ask you to deny what you feel. It asks you to look directly at it. You acknowledge the fear is present. You identify the resentment coiling up. You know you are hurt, but instead of kneeling before them, you calmly strip away their right to give orders. You do not run. You do not deny. You simply refuse to let them decide your future. Then, a different kind of strength begins to form. You stand amidst the inner waves without being swept away. You listen to the internal turmoil like someone on the bank watching muddy water flow by, rather than throwing yourself into it in a panic. From that vantage point, you begin to choose based on long-term vision, principles, and a clarity that most of humanity never touches. That is a power that is not loud, not boastful, but strong enough to shift the entire quality of your life. However, to create that cold buffer and stand firm within it, you will soon face an even harsher truth. For what opposes you is not just a few fleeting impulses, but an entire primitive mechanism embedded deep in your nervous system. An ancient survival code still silently governing your reactions in every breath. Until you see that invisible hand, you are not yet truly the one at the wheel. Part 3. Updating brain software. Reprogramming the survival instinct. The primitive code you carry within was never designed to help you excel or achieve inner peace. It was born for a single purpose: to keep you alive. Millions of years ago, humans needed to react instantly to danger. A strange noise in the woods, a moving shadow in the night, a threat that could end a life in seconds. Back then, fear and panic were life-saving tools. But in the modern world, where dangers are mostly an important meeting, a financial decision, or an opportunity requiring commitment, that very survival system becomes a silent saboteur. Observe your body when standing before a major turning point. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your mind begins to paint a series of worst-case scenarios. There is no predator stalking you. There's no real life or death threat. Yet, your entire nervous system activates fight or flight mode. In that moment, if you are not conscious enough, you will choose safety. You will stay silent instead of speaking up. You will retreat instead of stepping forward. Not because you lack ability, but because you are letting an obsolete operating system decide your future. This is the ancient biological mechanism at work. A system that was perfect in the past, but now constantly sends out false signals. The greatest danger is that you believe it. You confuse feeling afraid with, "I should stop." You confuse unease with unsuitability. In reality, many of the greatest opportunities in your life will always be accompanied by discomfort, fear, and uncertainty. Therefore, upgrading yourself is not about eliminating fear. That is impossible. And it is about changing how you interpret it. From this moment on, whenever your body reacts, racing heart, churning stomach, chaotic mind, view it as a blinking signal on a dashboard. It is a signal, not a command. An undisciplined person reacts immediately. A master pauses, observes, and asks, "Is this a real danger, or just the old system misfiring?" Marcus Aurelius emphasized, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you truly understand this, you begin to decouple feeling from action. You still feel afraid, but you no longer act based on fear. You still feel insecure, but you keep moving. That very moment, when you act contrary to your old survival instinct, is when you are rewriting your own source code. Gradually, a completely different state will form. Things that once made you flinch become mere ripples. Situations that once caused panic become problems to be solved. You are no longer dragged by reflexes. You begin to lead with will. This is the moment you step out of the role of a reactive creature and become the architect of your own life. Part 4. The power of the silence. The gap between react and respond. The most subtle trap of instinct is not that it makes you afraid or angry, but the ruthless speed with which it robs you of your mastery. In a millisecond, when rage, panic, or a sense of insult strikes, the entire rational system is pushed to the background. The brain regions responsible for composure, logic, and long-term vision are silenced, making way for a more primitive version of yourself, a being that only knows how to react in self-defense. In that split second, you say words you cannot take back, destroy what took years to build, and make decisions just to soothe the burning heat in your chest. When the dust settles, what remains is not victory, but a battlefield of regret. The boundary separating one who is pushed by life from one who truly masters it lies in a nearly invisible faculty, creating a silence. Imagine a high-stakes negotiation where an opponent intentionally throws a sarcastic remark to bait you out of position. The weak will bite immediately. They fire back, justify themselves, lose their temper, or rush to prove they are right. But the person of true character does not. They maintain their gaze, maintain their posture, letting that provocation fall into a steel-cold silence. They feel the wave rising inside, but they do not hand over the steering wheel. That single beat of silence is enough to flip the entire situation. This brief silence is where freedom is born, and it is the line between reacting and responding. Reacting is when you function like a machine being triggered by a button. An external stimulus leads to an instinctive behavior. Responding is different. Responding is when you still see the insult, still feel the anger, but no longer let it decide for you. You choose your words, your attitude, and your next move based on what serves your long-term goals, not to feed a burning ego for a few fleeting seconds. This is the difference between wanting to win the moment and being sober enough to win the game. This power is forged in very ordinary, small, and real situations. When you read a text that makes your blood boil, do not reply immediately. When someone makes you want to snap back, stay silent for one more beat. That pause is not weakness. It is the operation of rebooting your highest self. It is the moment you pull reason back before instinct hijacks the controls. Ask yourself one cold question. Does what I'm about to do serve the big picture, or just a passing emotion? Once you master the habit of living in that silence, you begin to wear an invisible armor. You are no longer easily provoked or led by the words and looks of others. You stand in the eye of the storm and maintain your calm core. Not because you feel nothing, but because you have stopped letting reflexive emotions live your life for you. That is true power. Not silencing the world, but refusing to let the world touch your internal control panel. Part 5. Don't wait for hope. Be the pilot in the storm. That sweet illusion has lulled humanity to sleep for centuries. We are taught to cling to hope as if it were the final light in the darkness, as if believing enough will somehow make things better. But in the coldest light of reality, hope is often not strength, but a sophisticated anesthetic. It causes you to delay action, to sit still in decaying situations, and to soothe yourself with phrases like, "Maybe tomorrow will be different." Meanwhile, life does not wait for you to be ready. It flows on, cold and precise, sweeping away the opportunities of those who merely expect rather than decide. A victor never hands their fate over to luck. They don't wait for circumstances to soften, for fear to vanish, or for a miracle door to swing open. They act while exhausted, or they decide while insecure. They step forward even when the sky is thick with black clouds. They understand what most avoid. There is no perfect time. The closest thing to perfection is the moment you stop praying for a different life and start steering yours with the hands you have. Imagine a pilot flying straight into violent turbulence at the heart of a storm. Outside is pitch black. Winds lash the fuselage as if to tear it apart. The dashboard flashes incessantly, and warning sirens scream in his ears. These sounds are identical to your internal chaos during a crisis. Fear screams, emotions jerk the controls, and instinct urges you to panic. A novice pilot would trust his bodily sensations, jerk the yoke subconsciously, and plummet. But a seasoned pilot does not. He knows the body can panic and senses can lie. But the instruments do not. He maintains his posture, anchors himself to the cold data on the dashboard and the invisible horizon ahead, and calmly guides the ship through the turbulence. This is how a mature human must live amidst chaos. You cannot control the storm. You cannot command adversity to stop or force the world to function according to your will. But you always retain one ultimate power: the right to steer. The moment you stop waiting for a miracle, every bit of energy previously scattered outward immediately returns to you. You are no longer a passive passenger. You become the one adjusting the heading, maintaining the altitude, and choosing the flight path. Part 6. True Freedom. The Power of Stillness. When you truly enter this state of mastery, a silent but subversive shift occurs. The external world begins to lose its power to manipulate you. True freedom is not the ability to get everything you want. It is no longer being dependent on the world going your way. The masses live on praise, tremble at rejection, and see every failure as a verdict on their self-worth. But once you strip away that addiction to validation, you realize a terrifyingly beautiful truth. The person who no longer kneels to beg the world for peace is the one who possesses a peace that no one can steal. Observe a veteran investor in a market red with panic. While the majority tramples each other to escape, the sober mind is not swept away by the screams. They don't see disaster, they see structure, and they recognize value being thrown away by those who have lost control. In the silence of an unpanicked mind, opportunity takes shape. This is the most ruthless advantage of stillness. When you no longer waste energy reacting, you suddenly have the space to observe more clearly and act more precisely than the rest of the world. From that point on, things that once hurt you begin to change shape. An insult is no longer a dagger in your ego. It is merely data revealing where the other person stands in their own awareness. A rejection is not proof that you aren't good enough, but a signal to adjust your approach. A failed project is not a tragedy. It is raw material for a sharper strategy. Life stops being a series of personal attacks and becomes a chessboard. You, instead of being dragged through events, begin to move like a true player. The core of this transformation lies in the art of severing the cord of expectation. As long as you demand the world be gentle or fair, you give the world the power to disappoint you. But when you stop demanding, power returns. You build a core that no longer depends on the weather of external circumstances. This is the beginning of real power. Understand this. This composure is not apathy. It is not the barren coldness of someone whose emotions have died. On the contrary, it is the sign of an interior strong enough not to be shredded by every wave. You still feel pain, but it cannot pull you off your axis. You don't avoid crisis. You simply no longer let it define you. This is heavy stillness. It is not dramatic, but it is too solid to be broken. Supreme power is not winning every battle, but no longer needing to fight everything. And you don't need to react to every word or prove yourself to every gaze. Not being pulled into meaningless wars is the ultimate sign of freedom. You walk lighter, yet stronger, quieter, yet sharper. You have reclaimed absolute sovereignty over your inner world. But this power is not a trophy to be won once and kept forever. To maintain this unshakable state, you must go through a final refinement, a silent, rigorous process that lasts until your final breath. Because after all the philosophies and awakenings, what defines you is not what you know, but what you repeat every day. This refinement is never a destination you reach and then abandon. It is a state that must be forged every day, in every thought, every reaction, and every decision so small that no one else sees it. The world outside will not stop simply because you have become steadier. It will continue to hurl unexpected crises, harsh judgments, and uncontrollable situations at you. But the difference now lies not in what happens, but in how you stand before it. When you truly grasp the power of detachment, everything that once made you falter becomes mere external friction, no longer capable of piercing your inner core. Epictetus once emphasized that freedom does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering oneself. When you live long enough in that state, you realize a truth that is as ruthless as it is liberating. No emotion has the right to command you anymore. Fear may appear, but it no longer dictates your steps. Anger may flare, but it no longer governs your words. Disappointment may creep in, but it no longer defines your worth. And you do not need to extinguish the storm. You only need to stand firm within it. And that is what makes you nearly indomitable. This is the point that most people never reach. They seek explosive moments, grand turning points, or spectacular reversals to change their lives. But the truth is much quieter. Everything is decided in the times you choose silence over reaction, the times you act even when your emotions don't support you, the times you keep moving forward even when no one is watching. Strength does not come from one big victory. It comes from repeating the right choices long enough for them to become your new instinct. When that happens, you no longer need to try to stay calm. Stillness becomes your default. You no longer have to strain to control your emotions. You simply aren't dragged by them anymore. A very different kind of character begins to form. Not loud, not boastful, but enough to let others feel that you are not easily shaken. You walk through chaos without being swept away. You see things that cause others to panic, yet inside you, there is only clarity. That is a power that no title, money, or recognition can ever replace. If you have come this far, it means you have seen the door. Not the door to an easier life, but the door to a stronger version of yourself. And the moment you decide to walk through without looking back is the moment everything begins to change. If what you have just heard touched something deep within, seal your commitment right now. Subscribe to Stoic Journey, share this perspective with those who need it, and leave a mark in the comments. Not to show off, but to remind yourself that from today, you will no longer live as a reaction, but as a choice. Keep sharpening your mind in the next videos. Keep it sharp, keep it still, and above all, Never hand the controls back to the things that once led you astray.